What a week of college football. I don't think you could have asked for a better way to start the season as a neutral. An incredible upset, multiple big games spread out throughout the 5 days of football that we had. So many good games. An embarrassment on Monday. We'll get to that in a little bit, don't worry. But, folks, college football is back in full swing. The best time of the year is officially here. We always, of course, appreciate anyone who clicks on these videos and joins us along for the journey. But Tyler, I mean, it was a good week. Then it became a great week. Then it became an even better week. And I don't even know I don't know what term I would have used to get above great. But college football's back, man. I mean, it's in full swing. What a time to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, it was 5 days of action, right? With plenty of ups and downs and some wild finishes and some wild results. So you can't ask for much better than that on week one.
No, you really can't. And I mean, let's just get into it. The big game of the week. It's so big they put it at noon. Ohio State beating Texas, and not just beating them. This was a slugfest. This was a grinded out, old school, first 1 to 10 points wins type of game. Ohio State 14-7. We'll mention this throughout the day. What went on? Lee Corso. I'll just start with this before we even get into the game itself. The tribute, the everything, game day. I mean, I watched it. I have not sat down and watched a normal episode of College Game Day in forever, like from start to finish. But that was a really well done College Game Day. I don't mean to take that away, before we go into this game, but seeing Lee Corso with over 100,000 people cheering him on, putting on Brutus the Buckeye one last time. That's one of those moments where it's just, you watch that and you either get this sport or you don't. It was a very touching moment. I almost cried. That man is college football, and it's a good farewell for Lee Corso. And he went 6 for 6 on the day. We'll hit on that a little bit throughout the episode as well. He started with Ohio State, got that one right. And I mean, the big takeaway from this game, I think that everyone's running with, there's two ways you can look at it. There is, man, Ohio State's defense is really good, or man, Arch Manning is not as good as we thought he would be. And I think you could say it's a little bit of A, it's a little bit of B, but those are the two big narratives that came away from this one.
Yeah, I mean, I had a good conversation with a couple friends during a cookout that Saturday of, okay, is Ohio State really that good or is Arch a bust? And I'm just like, look, Arch may be a redshirt sophomore, in terms of experience, but in terms of playing experience, he's still essentially a freshman, right? And going into that environment as your first big start, it's the defending national champions. Like, I don't know many quarterbacks that would succeed, if any, in that environment in terms of what Arch was hyped to be. And that's the other part of this, Kate. He got so hyped up by the media coming into the summer or coming into the fall from the summer, that it was almost impossible for him to meet those expectations, right? And I think in the fourth quarter, he showed a little bit of why he got the hype he did. There were some throws in there. He said, "Oh wow," But boy, that start was really shaky. And he acknowledged after the game, "Hey, I got to be better if we're going to win." I think the good news for Texas is that when this game, you look at the end of the season, both these teams are still going to be well positioned for playoffs. And yeah, this might affect some seeding, but it's not going to kill either of their chances in terms of the national championship race.
Absolutely. And what I take away from this is these are two really great defenses. And I think Arch
Oh,
Manning, you hit on it with, he got better as the game progressed, but man, you watch the start of that game and he's throwing some ducks out there, just slinging it into the ground, and it looked bad. I mean, it looked bad for any quarterback. And then you add in, his last name being a Manning. You add all that hype, and then you cut to a commercial, and it's Arch Manning wearing glasses talking about how they make him play better. And then you come back and he throws another duck. I mean, it was just a stacked upon cycle almost of just here is everything that could go wrong for Texas playing out of real time to start the season. And Texas outgained
oh yeah.
Ohio State. You can look at it here on the chart that we have on pulled up, 336 to 203. They beat Ohio State in that category. They had more first downs than now. They had a lot more penalties. That's never a good sign. Struggled on fourth down heavily and got beat in the time of possession battle. And that's something that a lot of people had a conversation about. I'm more than happy to have it too. Coach Sark, what are you doing in your red zone offense? I do not understand it, but also please do that in Dallas. I would love to see that happen again. But 1 for
Yeah.
5 on 4th down, absolutely just mind blowing. This Texas team with all the pieces, we go back to our SEC preview video, all the things we've talked about for Texas and what they have to succeed. And you come out and play a game that feels so winnable. Your defense is shutting Ohio State down, and Ohio State's playing into it by just running the ball, playing conservative because they trust their defense so much as well. And I said it when we did our Big Ten preview. I think Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten. I think they're one of the best teams in the country, obviously. I think they should have been top 2. It's very easy to me why we'll get to the AP poll at the very end of this video. Ohio State, the new number 1, obviously deservingly so.
Yeah, and one final thought on Texas, and the game, I guess you could say. You look at the game plans, right? And people, I heard this after the game, and I was I didn't agree with it in the sense that people were saying, well, Sarkeesian clearly said the training wheels on for Arch. I don't think so. That first play, and you alluded to it. I mean, he's got a receiver wide open, and he throws in the dirt.
Yeah.
That was play 1, and Kate, it kind of reminded me of crossover our NBA content. The whole Jaron Jackson Jr. passing out of the paint on Alex Caruso. At that point, I'm like,
anytime
oh, this
you
might
have an
be over.
opportunity to sneak that in for the rest of this channel's history, you're going to put it in there. But
Maybe.
the other thing that, you mentioned that take about putting the training wheels on Arch. Why would you do that? You're playing at the number 3 team in the country. I can think of a million other games where you can say, okay, yeah, we're starting the year with UTSA, which, speaking of which, they gave A&M a tough game for a half. We're going to do it against, whoever we throw up against, Louisiana Monroe, or whatever random team we're going to play. But you don't do that in the first game of the season when you're in a top 3 matchup. And Texas was running the ball well. I mean, you look at it, for Travion Wisner, 16 carries, 80 yards, 5 yards a carry. He was having a good day. Ohio State overall averaged 2.3 yards a carry. I always like to try to bring up these stats because they can sometimes paint a little bit different of a picture than the game you watched, and that's the beauty of the sport. Stats in your eye test always can tell 2 different tales. But this was an Ohio State team that I think they came out with a very simple game plan that once we got the lead, we're going to rely on that defense. We're going to show some different looks. We're going to see how Arch reacts. And once they kind of saw how he started, they thought, okay, we're in the best case scenario right now. We don't know what he's doing, but we know that, we can have an 8-minute drive in the second quarter, get a touchdown. Let's try to hold onto the ball, control some clock a little bit, and play some old school Big Ten football. And it worked to Ohio State's advantage perfectly.
Yeah, it did. And, the one thing that I thought Ohio State did better than anything else was not put too much on Julian Saint. You want to talk about the train
Exactly.
wheels being on. Clearly, that game plan was very quarterback friendly, where he didn't have to do too much, right? And that's why, again, I disagree with people that was claiming it was training wheel for Arch. There was opportunities there, even through their struggles. It just didn't materialize in terms of what they wanted it to be. But, I think saying overall had a pretty great day. I know the stats don't really show they had a big explosive day, but sometimes, especially when you're a young quarterback, not turning the ball over and making smart decisions is more important than throwing for 300-400 yards.
Exactly. QBR of 74.5 in your first start against one of the best defenses in the sport. You'll take that. You had a win on it. You take that even more. But folks, we got to move on. As much as I could talk about that game forever, there was maybe somehow a bigger storyline that emerged in the window afterwards. I don't know how this happened. If you were to tell me, I mean, we talked about this on the preview, that I said if Florida State wins this game or even keeps it competitive, my exact words were something has gone horribly wrong. Man, did things go horribly wrong for Alabama in Tallahassee. This was a game that, I did not get to experience this live. I was busy in Norman getting ready for OU Illinois State, but just kind of getting the feeling of checking your phone every once in a while and just going, okay, Alabama's up 7-0. Okay. They have a nice bully ball drive down the field. They're taking up time. This is Alabama football. They're going to be okay. And then I checked my phone to see that it's 17-7 at halftime. I was about to short circuit. I had no idea what had transpired, what the hell was going on. And then they
Well,
show this
and I
they
remember
and then they show the score update again in Norman, and now it's 24-10 going into in the fourth quarter. And it's just even more confusion. And then it's, oh, hey, Florida State is up 31-17. Also, Ryan Williams has a concussion now. He's not coming back. A very weird, weird day. And I mean, the time of possession balances out just about. Florida State goes 2 for 2 on fourth downs. Alabama, so many penalties. 8 penalties for 70 yards. You can't do that. I mean, you can. Florida State 4 for 40, you could say, is even bad if you want to get into it. And I think Florida State fans, after last year, I cannot think of a team that deserves a win like this more, maybe, than Florida State. You get snubbed out of the playoffs. You win undefeated. You go 2-10 the next year after talking so much about the revenge season. Everybody outside of Charleston, Southern, and Cal gets their licks in on you, gets to clown on you, gets to make fun of you for an entire season for how terrible you are. You can't do anything right, and you just have to sit there and take it all. And now the whatever mojo, voodoo, whatever you want to call it, has been lifted. And you get to storm the field, you get to have a party, and for the first time in over a year, Florida State fans had fun watching a football game. And they had a lot of fun in this one. Alabama just absolutely beaten up. And I think that's the other story of this. How many times have we seen this game plan work against Alabama now in the Kalen DeBoer era? Which, by the way, I'd like to remind you is one season and one game. How many times have we seen this happen? Vanderbilt did it. Oklahoma did it. Michigan did it. Florida State's now done it. Tennessee did it a bit. Just run the ball, see what happens, slow this game down if you can. Don't need to do a whole lot in the passing game. Just keep Alabama's offense away from doing anything, and they'll start to sputter and sputter and sputter. And that's what happened here again. It's just crazy.
Yeah. No, it was, and I was gonna say, like, I remember texting you um, about kind of the game, right, while you were there, and just kind of like, what?
It was very confusing to try to
Really, what it
understand
was?
live what I was being told was happening.
Yeah, I mean, just mystifying. It was just a soft performance. Like that's what it was. Like a soft performance from Alabama. That's something
Yeah.
that
You give up 230 on the
you just don't
ground. I mean, that is disgraceful for Alabama. That's disgraceful for a lot of teams, first of all. But for Alabama, that is a what is we're half our players out? I mean, that's the only explanation you could think of, but it's just I don't know how long this can go on. And again, I don't mean to go back to the SEC or Big Ten previews every single time we talk about one of these games, but this is another thing we talked about. If Ty Simpson can't get going, Alabama's team, the pieces are there at times. You could see it. But when you go 23 for 43, that's not going to cut it. When you're having to sling the ball because you're behind it, that makes it worse. Jeremy Bernard had a good day. That's about all you can say for Alabama. That's about all the positives you could really take away from this. And I think, Tyler, last year I didn't want to say it. I want to say, well, let's see another year of Kalen DeBoer. Let's not jump the gun on this thing and say that the Alabama dynasty's over. We're watching it collapse in real time. After this game, and seeing that Alabama had a whole offseason to adjust to this. They had a whole offseason to know what their glaring weakness was and how the blueprint to beat this Alabama. And you still can't figure it out. Why should we trust this Alabama team in any big game for the rest of the season? Based on what we saw, why should we give Alabama the benefit of the doubt in anything anymore in terms of this football team?
No, I agree. I mean, they don't deserve it, and unfortunately for Kalen DeBoer, boy, you better figure out something quick, or else your job is very much in jeopardy. Because Alabama does not do this; they do not go and lose like this in these big moments.
They do not. I mean, seeing Alabama fans, I mean, Paul Feinbaum absolutely had to hear it from everybody. No surprise there. But Alabama fans, I mean, just seeing so many social media posts about, like, I remember when our defense would get mad that we gave up 3. And now we're out here just acting like, yeah, it's okay. We're down there. We're down 31-17. We'll come back. Just complete culture shift in just 2 years that we've seen happen at Alabama. And man, if things don't get better for them, I think the downfall, it's slowly on its way, especially in the new era of college football that we're in, where just about anything can happen and teams can change so quickly over a year. That's the story of Florida State. Tommy Castellanos comes in from Boston College, says, yeah, I can beat Alabama. We're not scared of Alabama. And you know what? He was right. He was 100% right.
That's
Absolute
the
crazy
craziest part.
story in Tallahassee. But we can't dwell on this one too long either, because we had the Battle of Death Valley that night. LSU and Clemson. Someone was going to get the actual rights to Death Valley. Clemson, sorry, you no longer get to be called Death Valley the rest of the season. It's with LSU. Garrett Nussmeier, he balls out. LSU's defense looks insanely impressive. Cade Klubnik, 19 for 38, 230 and a pick. This LSU team might just be for real. If their defense can do that, 261. That's all Clemson had in terms of yards. Forced a turnover. Was able to shut them down on third down pretty well. And LSU controlling the time of possession like that, 37-23 when you round it out. If LSU can win these types of games, we know what that offense can look like when it's humming. This LSU
Yeah,
team is scary good.
it is. And, I thought we had talked about it going in. We couldn't trust Brian Kelly, right? In week one, couldn't trust him, couldn't do it no matter the circumstance. But we did feel like the LSU team on paper was better, and
Yes.
it proved out to be that way. So for me, that was a big thing. It kind of confirmed what we believed. And, for Brian Kelly to actually win that game, that's huge. That's got to be massive confidence for the Tigers.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one where I also want to harp on this. Dabo Sweeney was trying to talk about it over
Yeah.
the few days, and we got to bring up this quote. The freaking LSU got a 65 on their test, and we got a 58. You lost, man. You get over it. You lost. It doesn't stop trying to drag it. Well, they also played bad. It doesn't matter. All that matters is who wins the game. It doesn't matter if you get beat 2-0 or 17-10 or 45-12. You lost. You still
Yeah.
got 11 more games to go. You could still win the ACC. It's not like that's the end of the season or anything, but it's just, as you can tell, I'm not the biggest Dabo Sweeney person in the world, but just hats off to LSU for finally winning a season opener for the first time this decade. I think it is for the first time this decade in the 2020s. But man, LSU, they looked the part. The offense was there. The defense was firing on all cylinders all night. You look at it, putting together tackles for loss, putting together solid defensive plays. 3 years ago, that would have felt unheard of to say LSU's putting together solid defensive plays unless it was Harold Perkins Jr. doing something. But now everyone's in on it. This LSU team, just seeing how they've improved so much over the course of a few years. We talked about it, that this should be the team that puts it all together. And it looks like, pretty early on, not to overreact, this LSU team is looking the part early.
I think that's fair. Not an overreaction.
Not over the reaction or overreaction. Why am I trying to say over the reaction? Trying to create a brand new phrase. My brain is trying to go to sleep, and we just started. But we've got to move on to Miami and Notre Dame, the Sunday night football game. Man, that sounds good. Sunday night football being a college game in Miami. Two teams that do not really get along. It was a pretty fun game. I mean, we saw Carson Beck. What was the big knock on him last year? Turnovers upon turnovers upon turnovers. Look what happens when he doesn't turn the ball over. Look at what this Miami offense was starting to get into a rhythm late in the game before Mario Cristobal decided to play coward ball and Notre Dame comes back and things nearly went haywire again. But Miami is able to hold on this time and beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame still cannot win at Miami. You look at the total yards, Notre Dame had 2 turnovers. Yards was competitive. First downs favor Miami. Miami had 1 more penalty. Third downs favored Notre Dame. But this was kind of the struggle Notre Dame was going to go up against in this game. When you had C.J. Carr a young quarterback on the road, trying to get him going, what's the best way to do that? It's to go to the run game, right? Why did
It
Jeremiah
is.
Love have 10 carries the entire game then?
Yeah,
That's
they put
my
a lot.
that's my question.
Well, and I mean, no matter who's your quarterback, Jeremiah Lowe should not just be getting 10 carries, right?
No.
Like, I mean, there should be a heavier workload involved there on that. So that's a fair question. But I got to say, for Mr. Carr, we talked about Arch, having a tough environment. It's not an easy task for CJ, and he really, I thought, for the most part, played pretty well. He did look like he was afraid of the moment for the most, in that game. So credit to him. Unfortunately, I agree with you that Notre Dame. We talked going into that, Kate, about hey, they've got this identity, right? That's why we believed them in this game over Miami, and it did not seem like the same team this week in that game.
No, it felt like a Notre Dame team that wanted to say, yeah, that was last year. This is CJ Carr's team. Let's see what he can do. And you just kind of forget that you have one of the best running back 1-2 punches in the sport. And I don't understand why they chose to go with a bunch of screens and short passes to start the game early. Because once Notre Dame got that ball running just a little bit, able to give Carr somewhat of a break, he starts to try to get the QB run game moving as well. Notre Dame came right back in. They tie this game up. It felt like, oh no, it's classic Mario Cristobal again. Miami's going to blow another winnable game. But credit to Miami. Marched down the field, got the field goal for the win. And Miami, a team that a lot of people kind of felt like, yeah, they're going to be okay. I don't know why they're in the top 10. They prove a lot of people wrong early on in the season.
Yeah, it was massive. I mean, we talked about LSU having a massive win. That's just as big for Miami, if not bigger.
Absolutely. So moving on to winners and losers of the week here. I mean, we could just keep it right here because Tyler, Miami was your winner of the week. I mean, this was truly, I mean, you'll probably go into it better than I can for you, but this is a massive win for the Canes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's levels too, right? It's a big win for Mario Cristobal because people were really doubting, what he could actually do with this team. And then you look at, Carson Beck. I mean, talk about being doubted to the high heavens, a guy that was basically written off as washed, for lack of a better term, last year. And then Miami as a program, they've been needing a win like this for a minute. You have a Heisman winner and Cam Ward, but you didn't really have that signature season to go with it. So for all those facets of it, huge, huge for Miami.
Absolutely. And before we get into my winner of the week here, we do want to take a moment to, as always, if you've made it so far throughout the video, we always appreciate that. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to the channel, feel free to do so. We always appreciate it. Leave a comment down below. Tell us, what you agree with, what you disagree with, all those fun things. If you're listening over on Spotify, give us 5 stars over there. And for my winner of the week, we're keeping it in Florida. Florida State, specifically Castellanos, specifically Tommy
Oh yeah,
Castellanos, because this man has more confidence in his body than just about any human being should. He kind of has that same Diego Pavia, I'm going to do whatever, you can't stop me kind of energy, and maybe that's Alabama's kryptonite. Maybe Alabama just can't stop a confident quarterback like that on a team that no one expects it from. Because what he said, and we joked about it, a lot of people joked about it. We all thought this was the dumbest thing we'd heard in our lives. This guy's coming out here saying, yeah, we want Alabama and we're going to beat them. We're not scared of Alabama. Just keep adding more and more bulletin board material for Alabama to pick on and think about. And it didn't matter. He backed it up. He didn't have to do anything flashy. Didn't have to do anything super, awe-inspiring, but just a solid game plan. I talked about it a little bit already, but what this means for Florida State, what this means for Coach Norvell, what this means for everybody there that went through, you could say it's one bad season, but 2-10, that was not one bad season. That was a nightmare that Florida State fans were finally able to wake up from on Saturday. A massive, massive win for Florida State to put them back on the right track. And hey, maybe they're an ACC contender now. No one was really talking about what Florida State was going to do, and now here they are back in that race alongside Miami, who we've already mentioned, Clemson, who we've already talked about. An ACC race might be a little bit tighter than we thought.
Yeah, it might. That might be a fun one to monitor. We talked about the Big 12 being really tight at the top, but ACC, who knows now? I mean, that really kind of maybe changes the trajectory of the conference.
And then I'll just keep it here because my loser of the week also comes from this, or one of my losers of the week will be revealed here in a moment because I think we both kind of agree on one of them. But I think this was your loser of the week, wasn't it, Tyler? Alabama just
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yes. Well, and here's why, and more, than what we touched on in the game review itself. And you went over Castellanos. I mean, just talking trash all summer long, and against Alabama as we've come to know it, that would be a death sentence for anybody. That means you're coming out, and Alabama's going to hang 40 on you, and you're not going to enjoy life. They're going to kill you, all that, right? That's what that would mean usually. But Cade, here's the secret: nobody's scared of this Alabama team.
No.
Kalen DeBoer, I don't know what he's done behind closed doors. I don't know what they've done in the practice facility and the weight room. There is not the same edge to this Alabama team that we've seen under Nick Saban. I mean, that's the big thing. Like the edge is not there. They looked if you replace the jersey with, I don't know, Arizona in that game, like I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. It was not what we've come to expect from Alabama, and so for that reason, and somehow a season and a game, Alabama has lost their mystique. It's
They
gone.
have. That
In
they
this new
have.
age college football with NIL and all that, and teams changing so much, you need a little bit of that. I think Arch felt that this weekend in Columbus with Ohio State. He kind of got the bright lights in his eyes a little bit, and I think when you go against Georgia, they still got that. But Bama, for whatever reason now, I think it might be gone. Like that mystique might just be finally dissipated from the Crimson Tide.
I think so. And then Kalen DeBoer's press conference did him no favors, where he talked about, well, I think I can out scheme just about everybody, and that's kind of where that confidence comes from. It's like, okay, you can out scheme anybody, and you've been beaten by the same game plan how many times? And Kane Womack's just still there, like, yeah, we're not changing the defense. We're gonna just allow ourselves to get beat over and over like this. I don't know what Alabama's doing. And you talk about mental toughness, and you talk about, what this Alabama team would have been even as simple as 3 or 4 years ago. I brought up this example then, and I'll bring it up again now. When Oklahoma beat Alabama, I was there for that game. And, some of the other teams, something as simple as coming out of the tunnel for the first time onto the visiting field. Tennessee, when they came out, they were looking to fight. They were looking to scrap. They were a hungry team. You could tell that game meant a lot to them. When Alabama came out, when other teams come out, they're usually fired up. When Alabama came out, there was this calmness to them, almost robotic like. There was no visible edge that they were just there to be there. That, we're Alabama and we're going to beat you because we're Alabama. And when that confidence can kind of turn to arrogance and you start to believe yourself, that we're going to win because we're Alabama and that we don't have any actual advantage over you other than the fact that we're Alabama, that's when we start to see this tipping point happen a little bit. The teams go, oh, you don't have any strengths. We can beat you. We want to beat you. This is a bigger deal to us than it is to you. Let's go take care of business. And that's what I think happened here in Tallahassee. I mean, even Johnny Manziel brought that up too. Nobody's scared of this Alabama team. Not a single soul is scared. I'm not scared of Alabama right now. And that was the vibe around Norman even was, after watching Texas and Alabama, heck, if our offense is competent, we might be a top 3 team in the SEC. Who knows where this season's going to go? There was a lot of craziness going on in college football, and it still might not be as bad. All of this that we just said still might not be as bad as my loser of the week because, God damn it, man, what are you doing, Kansas State? How do you beat North Dakota by 3? What are you doing? I mean, last week, Avery Johnson's family was on loser of the week. This week, it's the entire Kansas State team as a whole. This North Dakota team won 5 games in FCS last year, and they were in a
Yeah.
fight to the death to win this game. And it took literally all 60 minutes for Kansas State to hold on for dear life to win. I mean, it scored with 42 seconds left to win the game. Unbelievable, inexcusable. What is happening to Kansas State this year?
I mean, it's no good, very bad, right? You got the perfect chance. Come out, erase, kind of use the mouthwash, so to speak, to get rid of that bad taste from your lost to Iowa State and Ireland. And you just look, I mean, you put up 38 points. And Avery Johnson, I will say, the poor kid, family's fighting. His team's not playing up to their specs. He's playing perfectly fine. Like,
Yeah.
I know
There
the
were
game
a
in
few
Ireland
almost interceptions here and there in this game, but
yeah, but compared to what we've seen for some of these other quarterbacks for a couple weeks, like I have no problems with his performance. It's not perfect, but not as bad as what the results would indicate with this team, right? So that I feel bad for him. But Kansas State, like, what? I mean, is this going to be back-to-back years of high expectations and just utter disappointment for this team? I mean,
it feels like
we're
it.
approaching that territory.
It feels like it. And the other thing that goes on loser of the week for this is I had the misfortune of watching the final 3 minutes of this game, and
Goes
I did not get to see the other fun 57 minutes that preceded this. But the crazy thing for me, and I guess this isn't crazy, this is fans being fans, but seeing these K State fans cheering this win, they pan over to the students and they're going crazy that they scored with a minute left. It's just, it shows you different parts of college football. And that's something I do love about the sport because, man, Tyler, if we were in the stadium and this was happening in Norman, everyone would look like their dog just got shot in front of them to win against North Dakota by 3. You would be,
yeah,
it would be the same same idea we had after the Houston game last year, where you felt like you just watched something die in front of you, and that was a 2-point win against a Houston team that went 4-8. And K-State fans, not all of them, a lot of K-State fans, very rightfully so, extremely pissed off about how this game went. I don't blame them one bit. I would be too. But just seeing that student section go crazy for a win over North Dakota, it's one of those like, yeah, there are levels to this type of deal. And I mean, good for them. They won a game, but man, this was an embarrassment for Kansas State to even be in this. It was a 27.5-point spread, which, by the way, if you picked North Dakota to cover, congratulations, you almost did. If you would have picked them to win outright, you must be feeling, A, who are you to pick North Dakota to win outright? And B,
oh, you'd be surprised.
man, you would have felt really good until that final minute 30 of the game started.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised at the amount of sick people that would pick North Dakota to win that game,
Yeah.
especially off a crazy 4-leg parlay where they
Oh
bet a
man.
penny and they're $1 million. I promise you, it's out there.
Oh man, goodness, that's all I can say. But now it's time to get to the best of the rest. And there was a lot of best of the rest this week. This is what happens when you spread everything out for 5 days. You get a lot of fun in here. But let's start with a game that really wasn't fun for 3 quarters. This was agonizing. This was torture maybe for some South Carolina fans because, man, what an amazing opening drive South Carolina had. And then, unfortunately, the game continued after that, and South Carolina proceeded to do nothing that worked on the opening drive. Went away from it completely, and it was a 10-8 ball game going into the fourth quarter. That's right, 10-8. A safety and 2 field goals. An Iowa touchdown for Virginia Tech went on here, where it was just brutal. This was painful for a while, and then in classic Beamer Ball fashion, not the Virginia Tech kind, the South Carolina kind, an 80-yard punt return completely flips the momentum of this game, and South Carolina eventually pulls away enough. Virginia Tech dominates the time of possession. They had a decent time on 3rd downs. They had 2 turnovers, though. South Carolina looked ugly until they got going late. Lenore Sellers, I thought, looked fine. Had some problems here and there, but again, I think some of that was more play calling than it was anything else. And Kyra Drones, again, for Virginia Tech. This is another year where you kind of go into it thinking, okay, the potential's there. I see what people can be excited about. And then the season starts and you remember, oh, yeah, I forgot what happened last year. 15 for 35, 2 interceptions for drones.
Yeah.
Not a good day in the slightest.
No, not at all. And you know what cracks me up about this game, Cade, is that there's people emerging from this like South Carolina had a great effort and that Lenore Sellers put himself in the Heisman contention. It's like, did we watch the same
If
game?
Lenore Sellers put
I mean,
herself in the Heisman contention for this game, I'm entering myself in the Heisman race, Tyler.
I,
That's where
don't
we're
get me
at.
wrong, like he didn't lose the game for him, but I wasn't exactly wowed. He had some plays, you know, where you'd say, okay, there's, you know, and he's still a young quarterback, right?
He
Like people
is.
forget about that. There's some plays where he said, okay, you know, there's some potential here, but to think that like he just had an Herculean effort, I don't think so. So, I mean, hey, North Carolina, get that one under your belt, that's good. But I think a lot to be desired in terms of their performance, and they've got a good opportunity to work on that going forward.
They do. And that's the important thing for South Carolina. You didn't play well, but you won. There's something to build on, and you got the W anyway. That's always what you want when you enter a slugfest like this. And then you have the opposite that happened in Tampa because my God, what a way to start week one with Boise State. So much hype from last year carrying over. How does this team look without Ashton Genty? And the answer is bad. This team looks terrible without him. 34-7,
Oh,
South Florida beats up, eviscerates Boise State, and the playoff chances go to just about zero, almost right out of the gate for Boise. A terrible time for them. Looked good in the first quarter. That's about it. South Florida takes over. You have a fake punt that completely just didn't end the game, but with the momentum swing that comes from that, it felt like the end of the game after that happened. And Boise won the yardage battle, but 3 turnovers, absolutely abysmal, 8 penalties. Time of possession didn't matter. You look at some of those stats 2 for 6 on fourth down were the Broncos. This was an ugly, brutal, disgusting effort. Maddox Madsen goes 25 for 46, a QBR of 26, by the way. Absolutely terrible. Byron Brown, he had some fun. 210, was able to run the ball, got 2 rushing TDs, showed off his strength there. He was finally back. And the state of Florida, we've talked about it, continuing to look well. That's now Miami, Florida State, and even South Florida we've talked about getting big wins.
yeah, big weekend for the state of Florida, right? In South Florida, Cade, we meet about this off here that for some reason the college football team really liked them, but hey, they popped up big. Boise State, though, whew, I mean, for Max Matson, like he had to carry the team a little bit. This was his year, like I said, with Genty gone, he had to step up, be that guy, and oof, he was not. I mean, this Boise State team looked like they didn't want to beat him.
No, I mean they looked bad. And that's the worst thing about it is there's nothing really I could really dive into that you watching this don't already know. They looked bad. There's nothing else I need to say. We can move on to some of the Friday night games that happened. Auburn and Baylor. This was one that I boldly declared, why is Baylor not a favorite in this game? I'm dumb, apparently. Auburn looked fine. Baylor can't stop the run to save their life. That is the takeaway that a lot of people probably deservingly have to say about this game. No turnovers between these two teams, which is kind of impressive when you get to 38-24 and you have a Baylor team that wants to chunk it a bunch and an Auburn team that has Jackson Arnold as its quarterback.
He
Jackson
did
Arnold,
fumble once.
he did fumble once, but they were able to recover it. But Jackson Arnold, I mean, he played fine on the run game. 16 carries, 137, 2 touchdowns. Passing, yeah, you could want more out of that, but a QBR of 93.7, no Auburn fan's going to be mad about that. The run game looked amazing for Auburn, running for 307. Baylor's got a lot of work to do. Sawyer Robinson threw for 419, and that's great and all, but it doesn't matter how much you can throw for if you're getting slammed and held to 24 points. Auburn's defense bending at times, but not breaking, and able to control that line of scrimmage. It's a big win for Auburn.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, for Jackson Arnold, took care of the ball, and they ran the ball well. So maybe the secret is Jackson Arnold's just a good triple option
It
quarterback. I
might
don't know.
be. That might be the
I
he
don't know.
was the dual threat. That was the whole thing. Is he's a dual threat guy. Maybe one of those more run than throw kind of quarterbacks. Maybe we all thought about him wrong.
Maybe, Kate, maybe. But I'm curious to see if Auburn can keep that up because I don't know if they can. At some point, feels like they're gonna have to throw the season.
I mean, I would think so. That's the nature of this thing. Someone's going to try to figure that out eventually, and we'll see. But for Baylor, I mean, you got to figure out the run game because if you don't, it might be a long season for Baylor. This is a Baylor team that I had a lot of belief in, that I thought they could be something. But after seeing how they looked in week one, it might be time to already start reevaluating what the Bears can do. And for Auburn, I mean, that up and down with is Hugh Freeze fired or not. I mean, this is a trend in the right direction for him. There's some optimism coming from Auburn now. A lot of people said, "Hey, look at us." A lot of people thought we should have lost this game. A lot of people thought we had no chance against Baylor, even though we were favored until the time of the game. And we won by 14 on the road. That's a big win for Auburn. That's a nice positive direction. It feels like Auburn's been desperately looking for the past few years. We'll see if Auburn builds on it or not. But speaking of building on things, we're going to talk about the other game that happened in the dueling game with it over on ESPN. Georgia Tech and Colorado. What a weird start in this game. Georgia Tech is 3 turnovers early. It feels like they can't get out of their own way. Colorado is given opportunities. They can't fully take advantage of it. And Georgia Tech comes back, continues to scrap, makes this a Georgia Tech style game, and gets a 27-20 win and holds on in Boulder.
Yeah, good one for Georgia Tech. I know you're high on these boys.
I am. Haynes King is
Colorado,
the
like,
truth.
he's the truth.
He's the
Kind of a
truth.
weird day for Colorado. New era without Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, or Shiloh, Big Rip Shiloh. Uh, but it's one of those games where I think for Colorado, not the worst. You'd like to win it. Like I said, Georgia Tech gave you plenty of chances. Uh, but with how wide open the Big 12 might be, who knows where Colorado winds up in a few weeks? Because I think Georgia Tech will at least be a competent ACC team. So fun one, sloppy at times, but Georgia Tech winning how they like to. Okay, a little ugly, got it done.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how ugly it's going to be. When you can run for 320 and 3 TDs, you're going to take that. That's Georgia Tech football. That is exactly how Brent Key is okay playing these types of games out. I'm excited to see what Jamal Haynes King, that combo, does again for the Jackets this season. Like I said, I'm high on them. I think they could be pretty good. But we unfortunately got to go back to the world of the Sicko Bowl because Nebraska and Cincinnati played a game of football. That's about the nicest compliment I can give either of these teams. And Nebraska looked good at times. There were some other times where they looked like they were same old Nebraska of the last few years. And Cincinnati, a team with 69 passing yards with a pocket passer quarterback, Tyler. This is something you've been thinking about. You've been telling me since Thursday about your complaint with College Football 26 video game, with CFB 26. I'll let you start there before we actually get into this.
Yeah, so College Football 26 has Sorsby as a pocket passer, right? Which sounds good. But I'm doing an online dynasty. I'm Cincinnati. Just kind of we like to choose bad Power 4 teams. And
wow, how dare you
after
say
the
that
first
about
season,
Cincinnati?
I know. After the first season, this man's passing stats does not go up at all, but his rushing stats do. So he's got 90 speed as a pocket passer. I'm like, this is not realistic. This is all before Cincinnati plays Nebraska. And then you see Sorsby run for more yards than he passed and the same amount of completion / rushes. And it's like, well, okay, maybe college football went too far off.
Maybe. Also, just because it's so weird stat wise, Nebraska had possession for 39 minutes in this game. You don't see that kind of time of possession difference ever. Cincinnati had 2 turnovers. But the weirder stat, and I pointed this out to you Thursday, and I thought it was so funny, I'm going to do it again. Sorsby throws for 69 yards, runs for 96, had 13 completions and 13 carries. That is very weirdly coincidental, I would think. You have the reverse in terms of yardage on the same amount of completions and carries. That's just crazy. That feels scripted somehow. And I don't, you can't script that, but it feels scripted. But please help me make sense of that, Tyler. I don't understand.
I don't know. I don't know if I can, Cade. It's just a complete sickos ball.
I mean, yeah, that's what this was. There was a
That's
brief
what it
moment
was.
where it looked like, despite everything, Cincinnati was going to find a way to win this game and break
Because
Nebraska
that was a big
fans once
classic
again.
Nebraska. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean that's what it was. And then you had Travis Swift Kelsey there, and Taylor Swift there.
yeah,
So it was a great environment. Matt Rule, I'm sure, probably had a good podcast episode about it.
I'm sure he did. And just seeing Nebraska celebrate this thing like they won a bowl game was kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie, seeing a lot of the celebration, but I mean, I also get it for Nebraska because you've been in such a hellhole of mediocrity for the last decade. Like, I do get it, but it was also funny to see. It's like, guys, you beat a Cincinnati team that is projected to win like 4 or 5 games this year. But either way, big for Nebraska. Del Areola plays well with his idol watching on, and Cincinnati just soars. I can't get over Brennan Sorsby having 69 passing yards and half of it coming on like the final drive of the game. He had like
Yeah,
34 or something like that before this whole thing started. It was disgusting. Credit to Nebraska's defense on that. I thought the defense played fine. Nebraska, of course, when you're able to consume that much time of possession, that helps a lot. But this was peak sickos ball in Arrowhead on a Thursday, and as always, the team wearing red and white finds a way to win.
are you saying that the team wearing red and white got some help, Cade? Is that what
I'm
you're
not
saying?
saying they got some help. I'm
I think
saying that
that's
the
what you're
team that
insinuating.
wears red and white in Arrowhead tends to win. That just so happened to be Nebraska this time instead of Kansas City. But before we talk about that, we've got an NFL video coming up down the line. We'll talk about TCU and North Carolina on Monday night. We'll go from sicko ball competitive to sicko ball. Why am I still watching this? It's 41-7. Something might be wrong with me, or I just love this sport so much that I'm going to keep watching this. This game was not competitive after the amazing opening drive that surely proved that Bill Belichick and North Carolina was going to be something special. TCU just beat up North Carolina. Sometimes it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, and how poetic, right? That the first drive for the Bill Belichick era, beautiful. Gio Lopez looks like a star in the making, and then it just falls apart. Everybody goes, "Oh yeah, Bill Belichick got fired from the Patriots." Like, I
Yeah, and everyone goes, oh,
what a
yeah, wasn't North
disaster!
Carolina terrible the last few years or just mediocre
Yeah,
at best?
mediocre at best,
Did we
and I think
really,
that's
I mean, just, did we
it,
really think they were
it's
going to
it's
turn
like
this
the arch
around immediately? Like, come on.
apparently it's like the Arch case, right? Where everybody just hyped it up so much over the summer that you almost can't meet expectations. But man, talk about not even trying to meet expectations.
I mean, it was bad enough. The pregame coverages, I told you this would happen. They literally all picked North Carolina just because Bill Belichick. Like, there was no thought process put into actually breaking this game down at all in the pregame that I saw from ESPN. It was just, oh, our friend Bill Belichick. Yeah, of course North Carolina's going to win because they have Bill Belichick. It's not like we actually need to break down what the team looks like or anything. They just have Bill Belichick. Guys, did you know Bill Belichick's the coach of North Carolina? They definitely did not bring that up 8 million times throughout the broadcast like I said they would. But North Carolina, 3 turnovers, got outgained by 220 yards. Absolutely abysmal performance. TCU, offense looked spectacular. They looked like a team that they said it themselves. They felt they were disrespected. Hoover comes out. Josh Hoover, great game. 27 for 36, 2 TDs, throws for 284. North Carolina switched quarterbacks at the end and looked a bit better with Max Johnson out there, but the damage had already been completely done by that point. 2 defensive touchdowns for TCU as well helped a lot in this game. It might be a rough season for North Carolina because that's a TCU team that I think can be good. I don't know how good they're going to be, but this is not a good opening night measuring stick for North Carolina. Just bad. That's all I could say. Just bad. It's so bad Tyler didn't even want to talk about it. He left. That's how bad it was. He straight up left the Discord call. It was so bad he didn't even want to talk about it. That is impressive. I don't even know what happened to him. He might have just completely vanished into thin air. We'll see what happens when he gets back here. But while we wait for Tyler to get back, I mean, there he is. I knew you'd come back eventually. It was so bad you didn't even want to talk about what North Carolina looked like after TCU just started beating them up.
Trash. That's what they look like. Look like a team that did not want to be there, with the exception of Max Johnson. That was the only guy that was trying. Him and his brother.
Yeah, that was kind of the point I was making. Just Max Johnson. He played fine. Damage was already done at that point, but we've got one more game to get to before we take a look at the AP poll. And this was the sicko special, I think, of the week. Some people will say it was Wyoming and Akron, and they might be right. That was a 10-0 game. But if you stayed up late on the CW to watch the Battle of the Palouse with Idaho and Washington State, you saw some football. I don't think it was good football, but it was certainly entertaining. This was a game that had no business being a one-possession game. I was going to say competitive, but Washington State did themselves no favors in that. Idaho scores a touchdown, makes it 10-7. Washington State responds by switching quarterbacks for absolutely no reason and immediately having a bad snap, then near fumble again. That makes them lose about 20 yards. They punt it away. Idaho does nothing. Wazoo gets the ball back, then does turn it over. And Idaho gets a 7-yard drive for a chip shot field goal, ties the game up at 10. And Wazoo proceeds to march down the field with their starting quarterback back in, by the way, to win 13-10 in a very embarrassing game for Washington State. This is going to be a rough year. This was almost the definition of couging it. It did not happen because Washington State actually somehow found a way to win this time. 35 minutes time of possession favoring Idaho. Teams combined 3 for 3 on fourth down. You don't see that a lot. Idaho productive on third down, especially compared to Wazoo. And my gosh, neither team even had 225 yards of offense. It was a defensive slugfest out there. Idaho's quarterback threw for 33 yards. It was that kind of game for the Vandals. It was that kind of game plan. And shout out Joshua Wood, 12 carries for 101 for the Vandals. Love to see it. Washington State had 3 rushing yards. They had 3. You could go walk outside right now and walk your block and back, and you would have way more rushing yards than what Washington State had. You could walk to your driveway and back and have more rushing yards than Washington State did against Idaho. It was pathetic. They cannot run the ball. It cannot be done. It all came down to Cam Jackson Potter save Washington State. And he was able to this time. But man, how's that going to look later on in the season?
Cade, you're all on your own on this one. I didn't even see this.
I
had no clue.
You weren't even awake for this. This is college football. This game got over at like 12:30 or 12:45. I was still up watching this. I was thrilled by turning this thing on at the end of the third quarter, saying, "Hey, Wazoo's only up 10-0. What happens if Idaho scores a touchdown?" And you know what happened? Idaho scored a touchdown, and things got crazy for a little bit. Wazoo escapes. They win the Battle of the Palouse. I don't think anybody was happy by the end result of this thing. Idaho fans felt they had a great shot at winning it, but didn't. Washington State fans were embarrassed that they even had to be in a one-possession game and a late field goal. That is what wraps up week 1 of the college football season. So many great moments, so many weird moments. College football's back, baby. That's all I could say. But We normally would wrap things up about here, but because this is the weird Tuesday AP poll, we're going to go ahead and throw it in as well. Just kind of as a bonus here to combine everything into one nice episode. Ohio State's your number one. LSU jumps up to 3. Miami jumps up to 5. Texas is the best 0-1 team in America at number 7, followed immediately by Clemson and Notre Dame. And how about that? South Carolina is a top 10 team.
I don't know if it's deserved yet, but that's fine. We'll live with it. It's the week 1 poll. It is what it is.
I mean, I thought they might have been a little bit higher depending on where you wanted to throw certain teams, depending on, okay, well, Notre Dame lost, Clemson lost, maybe, South Carolina, they won their game, they didn't lose, but it's kind of nice to see that no one got punished too hard for losing a top 10 matchup. I mean, I don't think they deserve to get punished that much. You know who did get punished, though, is Arizona State. The classic going down despite winning happens to the Sun Devils. Illinois 11, Arizona State 12. They flip spots. Florida up to 13 for a demolition of Long Island. And Florida State, welcome to the show, Florida State at number 14. They knock Michigan down a peg. Iowa State bumps up to 16 for their win over a K-State team that struggled against North Dakota. That's kind of more of a hindsight thing, I think, than anything else. SMU falls down a spot. OU and Texas A&M stay right where they are. Ole Miss at 20. And, of course, the other big story, Alabama is all the way down to 21. It has been a long time since we have seen them that far down. Tennessee goes up 2 spots. Indiana falls 3 for struggling against Old Dominion. Tech moves down a spot despite beating Pine Bluff by 60. And Utah, welcome Utah, who had a big blowout win over UCLA. And of course, what makes this even funnier, the first team receiving votes is BYU. If you look at the coaches poll, BYU is 25, and Utah is the first team out. I'm sure there will be plenty of discussion in the state of Utah this week about who is truly a top 25 team.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that. Is there any big complaints from you, Kate, about the top 25? I didn't have anything crazy.
I
I
mean,
thought,
I really don't either. I get Iowa State jumping 6 spots because the K-State win was big at the
yeah,
time. A lot of people
yeah.
probably had that penciled in even before what K-State did. Alabama getting absolutely dropped in the polls. Perfectly
I'm
deserved.
surprised. I am a little surprised they stayed in the top 25, but that's the Alabama part, right? Just because they
Yeah.
looked so bad in that loss.
Yeah. I mean, you could have maybe moved them down to 25, and I wouldn't. Wherever Alabama went, as long as it was below 20, I was going to be okay with it. Florida State being moved in the top 15, I think that's deservingly so when you get a big win like that. That poll
Yeah,
inertia will now carry them the rest of the season. And
probably.
I really don't have any complaints with anything. LSU being above Georgia, I'm okay with that. I think you can
Yep.
make the case right now. LSU is the team in the SEC. They won their big game. Texas didn't. Alabama couldn't. Georgia hasn't played a big game yet. I think it's fair to say LSU is the best team in the SEC until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all fair takes. Right. So now we get to those separation weeks, right? You got OU, Michigan, a couple other big games coming up. That's what I'm looking forward to. See how this kind of shakes out, and those AP voters start saying, "Okay, well, this team's got this win, this team's got this loss." Let's see how truly big time the name recognition is with some of these programs.
We will have to see. But folks, as always, if you made it all the way through this video, we truly do appreciate it. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment down below what you agreed with, what you disagreed with. And as always, subscribe to the channel. Still trying to get to 160. Any subscription is appreciated. Of course, all of this is always free. We are just trying to, can we get to 200 by the end of college football season? That's kind of the goal I have set. Can we get to 200 by December? Maybe we can even surpass that. We'll have to see. We'll have NFL content coming as well this year. That was something I wanted to try to get into. We'll have college football, of course, week 2 coming around the corner. It's always a fun time. Sports are back in full swing. So, folks, until next time, have a good one, everybody.